VisioTech, where AI becomes equitable through accessibility and cybersecurity. Welcome to Systems and Technology Intelligence Lab's STIL 26 Base Camp, powered by the Watson Institute and the Truist Foundation.
Welcome to the last and final session for STIL 26, the Systems Technology Intelligence Labs, powered by two incredible organizations, the Watson Institute and Truist Foundation. I've been working with them, amazing people over there, and they are giving us the power in order to get this information to you. The purpose is to educate, engage, and empower you in three areas: AI, accessibility, and cybersecurity. As I mentioned before, we are on our last session called Rise of the Agents, and by the title, you can tell what we're talking about today, Agentic AI. And so we have two incredible folks that's going to lead this conversation. I'm going to pass it over to our host with the most, dear friend of mine and founder of the Black AI think tank, Stefan. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And this is great to be here. You know what? I don't even think we understood how timely the rise of agents would be for this talk tonight. But y'all, Jason's going to tell you in a second, it's everything. But yeah, I run with a small group, the Black AI Think Tank, every Thursday night, 7 o'clock. And it's a community ecosystem that's come together to help us as a community stay up and get up with AI literacy and all that that is in the financial world, the tech world, healthcare, education, the whole nine yards. And we do that by weekly meetings, quarterly get-togethers called the National Black AI Literacy Days. And then every year we have a national one that's a week long that's coming up June 8th to June 12th. It's a National Black AI Literacy Week. Amazing people coming in there, we're excited about, and it's a morning, evening, and afternoon sessions. But it's all about us learning. And I would just tell you that my background isn't in, I seem kind of maybe geeky on the outside, but I was just a musician. But synthesizers and all that got me into recording, that got me into sampling. Sampling was an easy believe into, oh, shoot, we can make all kind of sounds and do stuff. And now here we are in AI, and we're speaking things into existence. So it makes a lot of sense. It is our future. And this whole agent thing is no joke. Jason's gonna tell you about it. It's where we are, and it's here to stay. Um yeah. Tiffany, did you want to say anything before I kind of open up to Jason a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, myself and good friend Rebecca Skeet over there at the BGH Foundation, also a community partner that is assisting us with this entire base camp with the heavy lifting over there. But we participated in the National Black AI, Day and got to talk about accessibility and cybersecurity last year. So it's just a great group of people over there at the think tank, and I love joining in on the Thursdays and kind of seeing what the talk is about. So great stuff over there that you're doing.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, we know a lot of people from that think tank. All your Erin Reddicks. I know we both love what she's doing with Chat Black. She's on a whole lot of stuff now.
Mhm.
John Passmore with Latimer's out there. Lafayette, Christopher
Metaverse.
Lafayette, just killing it globally. All these folks. So we need to stick together. I asked our group the other day, and I said, um, do you think there's any place for like a national AI literacy instead of National Black AI? They said, "Oh no, no, we need we really need these times together." And it was unanimous, and that's what we're gonna do anyway. But we need these kind of times. So I love it, and I love the fact that Jason is here. We've seen each other in different things for several years now, and I'm gonna do a quick introduction because it's kind of amazing, and I don't want to take his time away. Jason Caston serves as Senior Digital and AI Strategy Manager at Okta, where he focuses on digital transformation, AI strategy, and enterprise implementation. That's a big thing right now. His work centers on helping organizations navigate emerging technologies while aligning innovation with operational realities. dang, that's a big word. All kind of realities right now and business outcomes. So he comes here with a lot, knowing this technical stuff of how to connect us and our businesses with the future and really implement agents. So Jason, great to have you here. And if you want to say a few things, and then I got some questions for you in a little bit.
Nah, nah, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. I appreciate Tiff having me on here because we go way back to where I think we were implementing and talking about digital platforms and digital solutions and the stuff that was under that, and now getting into this the AI and agentic solutions. I think one of the key things you mentioned in terms of teaching the community is just being ahead of the curve and being more proactive in that tech space instead of being reactive. And the things that I've been able to do is recognize the patterns and where technology is going. So as opposed to and creating methodologies around it. So as opposed to saying, okay, well, everybody's jumping on social media, I was like, nah, look at this digital and how it all plays together. They called it omni-channel, web, multimedia, social, mobile, um, and e-commerce. And now when it came to AI, when it first came on the scene, everybody was like, oh, prompt engineering, prompt engineering. And I'm like, no, look at how you ask the questions, but we're also seeing generative AI. And then you saw the media in that in terms of like creating imagery and how that really took off. And then we saw music and AI video, and it was all tying together. And then, but it was chatbots. And now last year you heard about agents, and they were just talking about it, but it hadn't really had its moment until January when OpenClaw hit. Then it had its moment, and that's where we're at now. So there's two things I want to make sure we do today because we're educating, as you said, the community. We could talk about agents all day, and we are going to talk about that. And I want to get everybody up to speed, but I also want them to know what's coming in terms of like real-time AI. So agents that interact in the moment. So not just where you send it out to do something and wait for it to do it and come back. No, I'm talking about while it's happening in real time. That's what's coming. So make sure we frame the conversation of what's happening now, but we know what's coming in the future so that we can stay ahead of the curve and be more proactive in how we build our businesses and work and educate our communities.
So I'm gonna just say what you said is so big. The people who are looking over on the other side, that's where we want to be. Because right now, we don't want to just be reacting to everything. Oh man, we got to do this, got to do that. But your outlook about getting up ahead, looking way out there, what's in the future. And I actually had a question tonight. We'll ask it later about what if we went to the year 2028, just 2 years, and look back on today, and we
Mhm.
had gotten real successful by in 2 years from now. What did we do to create that success in 2026? I'll come back to that in a second. But just to start off, some people are not really sure what an agent is. Do you have a user-friendly way to describe what an agent is?
Yeah. So an AI agent, if you understand AI from the premise of how you use a chatbot, then let's look at an agent. It has a model that it utilizes. It's able to work with tools. It has memory. So, and by tools, I mean it can uh, go read a website for you. It can go search and do some type of action that you want it to do. It has a memory, so it's not just going out there doing something and then just forgetting what it does. And then it has governance. By governance, I mean you control where it can go, what it can do. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, my agent went out and deleted all my emails," or companies are saying, "Hey, the agent went and deleted our whole database." All that type of stuff. It has governance, so you control it. So the four things is it has a model. It's able to utilize tools, and by model, I mean whether it be Opus, GPT 5.5, open source model might be like Kimi K 2.6 or Quinn or what have you, DeepSeek. And then a memory. So a memory, it remembers what it does. Just forget it for the next time you spin it up. And it has governance. You can control what it can do. That's the premise of an agent.
I'm gonna just ask you one other question. The it part there, is it a chatbot? What's the it part that it is? And I hear those four things, but if there was one word, technically it is a
Well, see, when you think chatbot, there's multiple things that go into a chatbot. So I would say if we had to think of what it was, it is I would say I would call it more like an intern that
Oh,
goes out
that's a
and does
good
these
one,
things.
man. Where'd you pull that one from? That's
Oh
nice.
man, you
That's
put me on the
nice.
spot, so that's what I do.
Oh,
So
y'all, that
yeah,
could not have been more perfect. Wow. Wow. You designed you designed the intern with those features. All right. Well, listen, I know you're doing it on a lot of different bases right now. Like for
Mhm,
companies, everybody's looking for our own businesses, for us personally,
mhm.
but for companies that are trying to set this up, why is it so important right now?
It's important right now because we're at a moment in time where we're at an acceleration point
Mhm.
where this particular technology is able to automate and accelerate a lot of the things that we do, a lot of the repetitive things that we do. AI is very good at pattern matching. So when you look at the things that you do day in, day out, when you start programming these agents, or when we look at the stuff we want AI to do, it's usually the stuff that we are able to do, but it takes something that would take weeks and takes it down to hours. And so that's one of the things that makes AI agents very useful, but also um, you're able to do so much more. So it not only accelerates how much work you're able to do, but it increases your productivity. So where you're seeing, we will see a one person company be able to make $1 billion. We're going to be able to see that. And I'm not saying that's like, oh my God, in 10 years. No, I'm saying before the end of this decade we'll be able to see stuff like that. So we have tools now that are accelerating productivity and increasing the things we can do. But again, it's just another, if you look at patterns, it's just another technological moment. When we went from, when we saw the digital age come in and you saw the internet, you were able to consume so much information. They were like, now all of the knowledge of humanity is all online. And then we saw mobile. So now they were like, oh man, you're carrying all this stuff around in your pocket. And so now, again, it's just another moment where we're able to consume and not only create, but also consume information and knowledge at a rate that we've never seen before.
So, it sounds like it's very important. How important
Mhm.
would you say is it for companies that are sort of looking to shift their models into being agent friendly, or really utilizing agents or multi-agents even with their companies?
I think that it's very important, but it's not as important if you don't do it with any type of plan or strategy.
Okay.
So it's almost like if you were like, how important is it to drive? And you're like, well, it helps you get from point A to point B. And it was like, okay, well, should a company do it? Yeah, a company of adults who know how to drive and have taken, behind the wheel. If you put a whole bunch of children in the car, then no, it's not going to work. So the thing that I'm seeing companies do now is like they're like, hey, we need AI, we need AI. And I'm talking about from the biggest of enterprise organizations. You're seeing them. You saw what's it called, token maxing. You saw companies like big tech companies like Meta or Amazon token maxing, where it's just like, hey, you need to spend so many tokens, but they're not teaching their workers exactly how to utilize it. Is the organization already thinking AI first, or are you just trying to put AI seasoning on what you are already doing, which then people are just going to basically burn tokens trying to impress leadership, but they're not going to create anything that's useful or productive or will help change anything. And you have to get them, if you're not training your employees on how to utilize and implement these agentic solutions, then you have to get them over the fear that they're automating themselves out of a job or
That.
somehow replacing them, because that's the narrative at the moment. So.
Yeah. So I was going to ask that. Do you think there's any truth to that, uh, we're creating a scenario where these things really can sometimes do more work, faster work, even better work than some of the type jobs, maybe some collar jobs and other jobs that are out there. Is any of that legitimate? Because people probably asking that right now.
Well, yes, there is legitimacy to it. It's the same way if you looked at when the car was invented. What about the people that were driving horse and carriages?
Hmm.
So, was there a legitimate way to get from point A to point B faster? Absolutely. Did that put a
Hmm.
lot of horse and carriage service people out of jobs? Absolutely. As I went to Walmart and I see a whole bunch of self-serve checkouts. Did that put a
Hmm.
lot of cashiers out of business or out of a job? Absolutely, it did. Have there been stores that had to roll it back because they tried to automate things that weren't ready for the human experience? Absolutely. So there is legitimacy to it that no matter what, our job markets evolve based on technological advancements, whether and as well as legal advancements and other logistical advancements that we have in society. AI is a moment, and now it's going to the point where it's infiltrating all areas. And if you look at blue collar jobs and you're saying, oh, well, no, that won't be that. It's like, well, yeah, but they're putting AI in the robots to try and duplicate, those blue collar jobs. So you're going to see that where it's affected. The problem isn't more so of, am I going to be replaced? It's, am I going to develop any type of skills that will evolve as the job market evolves? We can't get mad at the person who figured out how to use the computer and said, I'm no longer using a typewriter.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's how we can look at it.
Yeah. So this is a quick question. What questions do you think some people should be asking right now? So forgetting the fear part where I don't want to do it because of this. What are the smart questions that people should be asking to start thinking strategically and operationally how to integrate some of this or even to get started? What are those important questions that people need to be asking themselves?
Well, if you're already familiar, since we're jumping, this conversation is about agentic solutions. You would take the assumption that people are already familiar with AI as a baseline. So we're not talking about chatbots. We're talking about agentic. One thing I've noticed, I've been at Okta for about 3 months, and today I just finished working in a hackathon where I was able to take the team that I run, and I looked at their processes for the last 2 months, and I started automating about 80% of what they do because a lot of it was manual. Not because they wanted to be manual, but that's what they were used to, and they didn't have the time to recognize or pattern match and to see where you could start to apply solutions agentic solutions that would be better, faster, smarter. And by that, it's like when you start to see that here are the things that they do over and over for every new task that comes in. Here are the steps we always take. Well, that's a pattern. So therefore, we can start to automate that. So, but then if you do that, you also have to have people who start to think less like participants in the orchestra and more like the conductor. Because even when we talk about, we were talking about OpenClaw and its agentic moment, and even how Claude duplicated that in Codex as well, they call it an orchestration layer. So, and basically, now you start to learn to delegate um, pattern matching work to these agents after you train them on what it is you want them to do. And so, I would say for people, the one of the skills that they're paying good money for now is pattern matching. So if you're able to see patterns and see that type of stuff and then understand that and then turn that into actual workflows, that's great. If you're able to build it, that's even more awesome, where you look at your cloud codes and your codecs and stuff like that. So
Starting point.
You hear me?
No, go ahead.
yeah.
Was somebody
Oh,
gonna say
sorry.
something?
No, I wanted to jump in real
Yeah,
quick
yeah.
and give this stat because I just came across it the other day. But McKinsey and Company, really big consulting group. They do specialize in technology, but they mentioned that right now companies are experimenting. I think up to 62% of companies are experimenting with agents, and that is projected to bring in. They're estimating $2.9 trillion by 2030. So that's in 4 years, and that's just an insane number when you think about it. But then also, Jason, what you just mentioned with pattern recognition, which brought up, you know, an idea in my head when it pertains to human in the loop. And with that, we're seeing a lot of companies dive into professionals that are neurodivergent because they are able to recognize anomalies, or they can hone in to different things like pen testing, or which is just penetration testing from a cybersecurity standpoint. And I just wanted to get your take on that as far as kind of bringing in those with disabilities like myself, as well as in other areas of disability within the human in the loop, and what that looks like with those two coming together, within organizations.
I think that my take on that, as far as I'll jump to the neurodivergent part because I didn't even hear the term until January of this year where I got a letter from a employer at the time who said they diagnosed me as not neurodivergent. I didn't know what that meant, but I was in hearing that. I immediately was like, okay, well, what does that mean? And it was along the lines of talking about not only I was looking for an exception as far as I didn't want to go in the office 5 days a week. So let me give context about why I got that. I was not interested in going in 5 days a week. But the key that I noticed in that is one of the things that people do, at least for my version of that, is pattern matching is something we can't turn off. So we noticed that, and not only in enterprise, that's just a way for me to use it as a skill set, but in my day to day, I notice it in just my interactions with life as a whole. So what I think in terms of that is, if you're for people who have a special set of skills like that and are able to utilize that, I think that companies are able to utilize it as well if you're able to convey it in a way that they can see the benefit of it. So if you're in an interview and you're talking about pattern matching, you're talking about those things, you have to be able to convey it in a way of, I can take what you do and here's how you do things. Here's how I can help enhance that and increase that or benefit that, and then they'll be able to see and have apply what your we'll say your skill set, and be able to understand how they can utilize it in their workflow. So that's part of one of the reasons the company brought me on was they hired me for strategy initially. Digital strategy was something they could conceptualize, but they said, we want you to be able to understand how to take us into the future with AI. They had no idea that I would immediately come in within a month and say, well, here's all the workflows and here's all the repetitive work I see that could be automated within a month. How do I get access to Cloud Code? And from there, then I was able to start building workflows and solutions and prototypes and start creating things that take the stuff that they do and take processes that would take months and say, all right, now we got this down to a week. All right, what next? And now we're thinking on a level, a orchestration layer level of, here's high level concept work that we couldn't even conceive before because we were stuck, in the weeds of things, the day to day stuff.
So no, no, go ahead, Tiffany. You're gonna say something. I want you to get it out. Your mic.
Mhm.
What about now?
Yeah, we got you.
There you go. Thanks for looking out. But no, I love that. Um, how, with that being said, with workflows and being able to recognize those patterns, communicate that effectively to higher management and then deploy, how important is it to not only have an org chart so you can understand where positions lie in the hierarchy for that workflow, but also proper job descriptions that are robust enough to be able to understand both from the human aspect as well as the agents. And I know I'm throwing that on you, but when you speak workflows, I think it falls into an information systems problem
Mhm.
where people aren't realizing to connect the business strategy with the proper technology in order to execute.
Mhm.
And what we get are what you said, sprinkle a little AI here, and then you have uh, people that are not making sound judgment within AI governance about, hey, when is the proper time to use AI? When does the human in the loop need to turn into the human of the source and go from there?
Yeah. So the thing I've noticed, and Tiff, you've known me for years. So one of the key things that I was able to do is I told them early on, I was like, I speak geek and I speak normal. So because of that, and that's just multiple perspectives. But so because of that, I was able to understand, like, from here's how the technology can be implemented to meet whatever needs we have. But in terms of the human in the loop, I knew that the human in the loop needs to be the source of decision making, the source of governance. It has to have nuance, and by nuance, I mean that's where you're looking at when you're talking about org chart. If we're creating some type of agentic solution, how does it affect a leadership from a level of not just getting stuff tasked done from us people who are lower on the org chart, but how does leadership view that and how does that meet their KPIs? How does that meet their business initiatives? How does that, and all that stuff needs to be taken in nuance because when you're using AI solutions or agentic solutions, AI will do exactly what you tell it to do and not what you meant for it to do. And so when you're looking at those things, that's where the human in loop has to come in as you're watching it do what it do, and you're training it to say, okay, here's nuance. I need you to do this. And when I use this term, when I say if I'm talking to AI and I say, oh, now that's where the light bulb went off in my head, you have to let them know that they have to understand like that's just a saying. So that's where I was enlightened at this moment. And at this moment, what you did or what you said somehow helped me understand and move further. So that's the type of stuff where whom human in loop is most critical. It's not just for here's where we should make a decision or a judgment call. It's also for nuance, and that's a huge thing because when I talk about pattern matching, it's not just pattern matching for workflows. It's pattern matching to understand who's in the room. We have a executive who is very big on demos. All he wants to see is demos. He's huge. He drank the AI Kool-Aid. All he cares about is demos. So that means you need to spin up a demo or a prototype in Claude Code or regular Claude AI, something like that, that can show whatever concept you're trying to present. If you're trying to present an agentic solution, spin up a prototype. Tell Claude what you want to do in your natural language and let it spin up that prototype and show him a demo of what you're trying to do. Don't just say, here's what I want to do. Show him how to work. And that way, that's how you read the room and that's how you'll move further in this particular organization.
Yeah. I just want to say that when it comes to AI, period, I sort of tried to learn this when it first came out. Talking about it, it just wasn't enough. When you demonstrate AI, whether it's a program, I don't know, Notebook LM or like you said, Cloud Code or Codex,
Mhm.
you let somebody see stuff, and that's where the whole mind just explodes because you realize, oh, I didn't even know this was possible. Let me ask you a really quick question. I mentioned Notebook LM, and
Mhm.
we know we can gather information from all over the place, sort of put it there. Even if somebody listened to this session and listened to how you're strategically talking about the organizational part of this, do you think people could sort of take their information about their company, and put it in something like Notebook LM, and then have AI start to coach them into exactly where to start for their particular company? Why not just as a matter of fact, Claude could do it. You have it start
Mhm.
interviewing you for these key points that you're talking about. Is that too simple for to move into agents, or what?
It appears too simple for a lot of people because they think that there's a barrier that we've always had to entry to technology. So when I said Claude Code, you had people will tune out because they heard code and not knowing that that's a user friendly tool that's made for natural language. Yeah, it can code with the best of them, but it's made for natural language. And Codex, which has code in it, it's made for natural language. Like the barrier to entry has been lowered so much that the issue is not so much as getting adoption of the tools, it's helping people understand and overcome their innate fears
That's
of the
good.
tools.
Yeah, that's good.
So, and I mean, and I always give out examples. It's people who can't swim don't want to go in the water. People who know how to swim have overcome that barrier of, okay, I got in the water and I figured out that, okay, treading water is not that hard.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, you had to get in the water to figure that out. You couldn't figure that on the side. So that in itself is one of the key things. But the second part about AI as a whole and agentic stuff is, for one, all the agents that I've created, and I've created a whole bunch of them, even so much so as we've been talking about enterprise here, we could talk about enterprise all day because it pays me very well to create enterprise agents. But I mentioned to the panel here, I'm creating a movie using AI agents, an AI movie
What
using
that's
AI
that's mind
agents.
blowing. Tell us a little bit
So
about that because that's really mind blowing. Yeah.
Oh, we gonna get to that. I'm gonna touch base on that because
All
we
right.
still got to get back to your 2028
Uh-huh.
question because
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I ask AI that all the time to
yes,
give me an idea of how things will go, and the answer is gonna shock you.
yes.
So, jumping back to uh, what I've learned about AI and asking it to help you get to where you're trying to get to.
Mhm.
The movie I, Robot Will Smith had this device, and it was the doctor was on it, and the doctor would always say, he wouldn't answer the questions if they weren't asked the right way, and then he would say that's the right question, and then it would help Will get to whatever the next thing.
Right.
And that's what I've been trying to convince people and help them understand. Like, AI is really just ask it questions.
Mm.
And if you don't ask the right questions, say, what have I missed? What am I missing here? If you tell it,
Yeah.
I have an idea, which is usually what I do. I do voice notes, and I'll take the transcript and throw it into Claude and say, all right, come up with this. And then I'll have ChatGPT go build it. Cause to me, it's a better builder, but Claude is more, has more of a human, has more personality.
Mhm.
But I'll take an idea and I'll say, hey, here's an idea I have. I want to create an AI movie, but I don't want to spend 120 hours monitoring it frame by frame. I want to spin up agents that will go and do this. I need to create the score. I need to create the storyboard. I need to create the screenshots, like all that type of stuff. And it gave me a plan and gave me the tools that saying, okay, connect Claude Code or connect Cowork over to Higgsfield MCP. And so you just keep telling it, all right, make scene one, and it'll go create all the images, review the images, because that's a human in the loop. I approve an image. It says, okay, now we're going to make the video, the actual 10-second clip of the video using whatever models I choose. And then I approve or I disapprove, but it knows the storyboard because it has the book I wrote that it's making the movie from. So again, everything is there, but I started with an idea and then me just asking it questions. All right, how do you do that? How do you do that? And it keeps walking me through it. Basically, it's telling you, talk to it nicely.
So I want to say just about that. How much of this are you talking into your systems? I mean, you can talk to almost all of them now. How many are you verbally having a conversation with versus typing?
I would say I talk 40% versus typing 60%.
Okay.
But I don't talk, I don't talk to it where I wait for it, like, where you talk to it and wait for it to answer or anything along those lines. I don't do that. I'll do voice notes on my phone, and then I'll take the transcript and copy and paste it into the chat. So and from there, because it's easier for me. I don't have the patience to wait for a long-winded answer. I'd rather just let it read it. And that's now, because that's why I brought up early on. When we have this conversation this time next year,
Yes.
real-time AI is going to be the norm. So the stuff
100%.
we're talking about now it will be like us talking about chatbots back in the day that had limited capabilities. And this time next year, it'll be real-time responses where the AI is building as you're talking to it. And as it's doing stuff, you can say, wait, nah, stop.
It's mind-boggling.
As opposed to waiting for it or you hitting stop and having to put it. No, you could talk to it in real time and it'll do stuff in real time. But the key to that from an agentic perspective, and I'll give people an example, is if you have an AI that's monitoring you that you have with you that's in real time monitoring, kind of like how the new AirPods are going to have, I think the cameras on them, and that's built in for AI agentic ecosystem. And we have different other things. Google's have their Fitbit that's going to be monitoring you all times. It has an AI layer built into it. You're going to have an always on AI, and because it's always on, it's going to give real time data and real time information based on it being always on. That's just one example. We think we're always on as when somebody's talking to us, is translating in real time, and we can hear it in our language, and then we talk back. That's the most used example. But no, I'm saying think of it as where everything you're doing is monitored, or as you're interacting with AI, it's interacting with you at real time. So you have the smartest person you've ever interacted with telling you and helping you build your idea in real time. And as you're talking to it and telling it what you want to do in your natural language, that's going to be the norm.
Wow.
And that's just next year. We ain't got to 2028 yet. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's just mind-boggling. That's really mind-boggling for us to think about. What's the idea of multimodal, by the way, when you hear people talk about being multimodal?
Multimodal is being able to understand different modes for inputs and outputs. So if I said how I take the transcript of my voice and put that in the chat bot. If I just wanted to put the audio recording in there, it would understand it. If I wanted to do a video, it would be able to analyze the video and understand it, which I do sometimes. If I'm doing an AI movie, I'll say, okay, look at this clip of Avatar. and see how James Cameron did that directing and the camera angles. Analyze that. Create my scene that matches that type of look and feel and emotional immersion. And then that way, and again, every time you do all of this, because we're still talking about agents, I'm just orchestrating what I'm telling it to do. As it hears those things, it's going out and saying, okay, I'm going to send out an agent that goes and tells Google Nano Banana what images need to be created. It's going to send out an agent that goes and updates the storyboard and the shot scenes of what my new directions are. It's queuing up the video agent that says, okay, I'm gonna need to take this image. Do I need to create a video off of just this image, or do I need a start image and an end image so we know where we're going? Then it's going to create another agent that's a director agent. He's looking at this from a director's perspective to say, how I want a Hollywood A-list a director agent that's looking at this. You need a producer agent, and then you need a QA agent. Is this consistent? There's people who watch there are people who work for Star Wars movies who, as you're making the movie, they'll make sure that you're sticking to lore. So that if you do something in a movie and one of the geeks are like, no, back in version 1, they did this and that's not lining
Oh,
up
I
with this.
got
I
you.
have
Yeah.
agents that are watching the agents.
Yes.
So,
Oh,
and again, I'm just the orchestrator, but you don't have just 2 instruments in the orchestra. You got a whole bunch of them. So I got a whole bunch of agents. Put them to work.
What about the security part? So, some people think that for agents, the more autonomous it's going to be for you or your company, sort of the more access that it needs to have of your history, who you are, even your system. So,
Mhm.
is that even a concern? The security part, the accessibility part, where for it to be more powerful, it's got to have
Mhm.
more access to you and your system. Is that a thing for companies?
It is a thing because they companies are looking at agents differently than new hires, and they shouldn't. When you hire someone, you have how much access they can have. You don't give the new hire access to your entire code base the first day. He hasn't even got done with onboarding. So when you have to have governance for your agents. You're saying, okay, here's a new agent that's doing this, this, and this, and here's all that they could have access to. When I use Claude Code, I say, okay, you can only access this folder. And all the stuff that they need access to is in that folder. This agent can only access this folder on my machine to do all this stuff. Whether if it's my open claw agents, they can only access certain things. And I put that in the governance when I'm programming them to say, here's what you can do. But again, I look at it the same way I look at an intern. When we were at Amazon, we had interns, but interns only had limited access to what systems they could access to. It's the same thought process. So if we have people here who are trying to create these large companies or grow these companies, eventually they want these companies to be, large, successful, and have rules. And they understand if they hire people, they will know how to watch what they do. They will know how these people can only have access to these certain things. The finance person doesn't need access to the engineering stuff. Just like the engineering person doesn't need to be worried about the books. That's the same thing with agents. It's the exact same concept. But people think technology is like you can't be controlled. And again, that's just the lack of understanding on how agents work. And so therefore you're letting them run amok. But you wouldn't do that if you walked in the office and you saw the accounting people back there at the servers back there trying to, take out switches and cards and stuff like that. Like, what y'all doing back here? QuickBooks ain't back here, man. Get back to your office.
Right, right.
That's the concept.
Yeah. So for organizations that just they're listening to this tonight, people
Mhm.
understand, oh, we need to be doing this. What's sort of a practical first step that people could take in sort of employing or starting the whole idea of
Mhm.
multi-agents that are without overcomplicating it?
I will tell you what I told my cousin because my cousin he runs a company that does grants,
Hmm.
helps nonprofits get grants, and
Uh-huh.
he's
Interesting.
been running it for I don't know, say 5 or 10 years,
Hmm.
and he watched one video on OpenClaw, and he was like, "Man, you got to tell me about these agents. I want
Hmm.
that." And I said, "Okay, I need 3 things from you." He
Hmm.
said, "Give me a write up on your company. What do you all do,
Hmm.
and what is it? How do you think this can help you? Like, what is it you're trying to do? And so, like, what is your ideal future?" And I said, tell me in your own words. Like, you write this up, you send me documentation. Tell me in your own words. Don't try and super techie it up. No, speak normal. But I already knew that there was enough documentation on open cloud implementations, and I already have frameworks already built because I had built it. And I just put that in the cloud and I said, hey, how can my cousin utilize his business and build an open claw architecture to help make his business run better, faster, smarter. And it laid it all out. It gave all the agents he needed. It gave all the steps. It broke it down and said over the next 30 days, here's all he needs to do every day to take this company and make it into an agentic architecture. And here's the governance. It gave each part. So the question as far as like what each person needs to do is you have to, first of all, once you have an understanding of your company, you have the documentation in your company, start putting that into whatever chat you use and start asking questions. I with clear goals. I would like to build uh, create an agentic solution within 30 days for my company. How can I do that based on this, this, and this? And let me know, last parts. Let me know if anything is unclear. Ask me any questions or follow-up questions that you need to know. And
That's
it will read your
powerful.
information and start asking you.
Yes.
So yeah.
I love that. That's powerful. That is a great addition to a prompt because it engages the conversation. It's not like you saying, do this, do this. It's like, well, wait, you might have stuff to ask me, and that's going to help us
Yeah.
to get there faster. That's a very good thing. I like that part of prompting. Is there a particular program that you would choose for that? Is your go-to like OpenAI, ChatGPT, or now that Claude has theirs, they got Claude, all of them have one. So is there one that you would
Yeah.
suggest people tonight going to, or just a favorite one?
So my AI told me I was poly AI, which was hilarious to me because I'll take answers from Gemini and compare them to
Nice.
ChatGPT and take those answers and compare them to Claude. So I jump around.
Uh-huh.
However, if I told people what they should get started with, I would say the easiest one is ChatGPT or Claude. ChatGPT because you have the easiest, it has the most limits for people to get started for your $20 a month plan. Um, and then I would say as you scale up, then I would say jump over to Claude. If you want to start building stuff, then I would say that's where I would go to like Claude Cowork. Claude Cowork is the easiest thing to utilize for the average user to start building agentic workflows. And then from there, I would say start looking at into Codex. Right now, Claude and ChatGPT are going back and forth with who's going to give the most limits because they're trying to poach each other's users. And there's like hundreds of millions of users in the balance. When Claude makes all their users mad, all of a sudden ChatGPT will say, hey, we'll give you free limits for a month.
Hmm.
And people keep going back and forth. The thing that you have to realize though is, again, we're talking agentic, right? You need to be able to have I call this what is it? My architecture is a brain and body approach that I
Hmm.
could take anywhere.
Hmm.
So the brain of all of my operations lives in GitHub. So no matter whether I'm using ChatGPT or Claude or
Hmm.
I also use I won't even say Gemini. They let me down too much.
You ever use
Um,
Grok or no? You know
I
that thing
I
came
tried
out. Yeah, the
I
thing
tried
came out
Grok.
today. They jumped in the race today, and they got the new
I'm
thing out. Yeah.
I'm all for Grok until until it starts going too much in on Elon and a little bit out of reality. That's
Yeah.
the only problem I have with Grok. But Grok is
Y'all,
actually a really good tool.
did y'all hear most recently? So Anthropic just got into bed with XAI. So with
Yeah,
all
for
the
the centers. Yeah,
yeah, so
Oh
they're
yeah.
tapping into is it Colossal or Colossus? Colossus.
Colossus one.
Lashes one over in Memphis, all the what we've been hearing with the data center and so forth, because all of these, frontier models need compute power. And
Yes.
I was really shocked with, how grounded ethically Anthropic is, and for them to
Yeah,
be in the business, it kind of shifts to where, it went from who's creating, all of the greatest features with these frontier models to
Mhm.
who owns all of the compute power. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm watching that. That's very interesting, but that's a whole different webinar we can
Yeah.
discuss.
Well, let me go back to
Yeah,
this question. And by the way, I think we all have some feelings about Elon and Grok. And I found it interesting.
yeah,
Anthropic, with their principles, we got a constitution now, we got a soul document, all the work they're doing
yeah.
in that. For them to kind of get in there with Grok is like, man, I didn't see those two together. I didn't see that coming. But I have to ask this question
Very
about
true.
2028. Just
Yeah,
pretending that I didn't want to go to 2030 because it's even more, we don't know what's going to happen. But just 2 years down the road, let's say I'm a New York Times, writer, I'm writing in technology and keeping up with all this stuff. And I'm writing about a company that in 2026, summertime, they made some changes, they did some things that made them highly successful in 2028. And I'm writing about it. What would you say that company probably did in 2026 that made them so forward thinking they're now successful? And again, y'all, I wish I was going out further, but let's just do
Hmm.
2028 for now.
That's a good question.
Well, the key thing that you have to look at is what um, cannot be predicted is how fast the models are growing and how fast they're evolving.
Hmm.
It's exponential because ChatGPT dropped in end of 20 like December 2023 or somewhere around there. It dropped. I think it
2022
was
December, yeah.
2022. Okay, cool. And so and that was through GPT-3, I want to say. Maybe they might have dropped two, but three, it was like three is the one that caught fire.
Hmm.
So and every year, if you look at the milestone of 2022, December 2023, December 2024, and so on, it's been an exponential increase in terms of what the models can do and their capabilities. So if you're looking at a company that is successful in within 2 years, then they would have to have changed fundamentally the way internally the way they look at business. Externally, they would have to change the way that they present their business. So let's go with externally. You have to change the majority of SEO to GEO because people are searching within the chats, AI chats, as opposed to Google searches. Even what's Google's search tool, the AI tool, whatever the AI summaries that's at the top, which hallucinates at times, it still does reference GEO, the GEO based sites and how the sites are formatted for that. And that's just formatting. That's just formatting the way so it's consumable by AI.
Mhm.
So that would be one thing. Another thing would be who's able to get to market the fastest by taking their internal processes and creating them for an AI first thinking world. That's the second thing. And so
That's
companies
good.
now, you
Mhm.
you can't just sprinkle AI seasoning on what you're already doing. You have to change the methodology with the way you do things. So if you here a good example would be for companies that are successful now, you tell them, hey, just use AI to do it. It's like, have you given your employees time to learn AI, and have you given them examples to utilize AI, and have you given them incentives to use AI? I mean, incentives like if you use AI and you do this, then here's the reward, as opposed to the fear based. If you don't use AI, you're getting
Oh,
laid
that's
off
good. That's good.
or
I like
replaced.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking from real experience now.
Hmm.
That's that is my lovely that's what's going on in Amazon right now. That's why they're token maxing.
Hmm.
Because people, are more so they're operating out of fear as
Hmm.
opposed to here's why I want to embrace these tools. The gap between the haves who know how to use AI at a scale that is impressive and can move the company forward and the have nots is growing.
Hmm.
So that's one of the key things. The third thing I'm seeing in terms of that is so if you have the AI first thinking company, I'm talking about from the leadership down. And leadership doesn't have to understand everything about AI. They just need to be able to empower the users to be able to do that.
Hmm.
The third thing is they have to be adaptable.
Good one.
There's a part of companies where they're not adaptable and they immediately uh, retreat when new technology jumps on the scene as opposed to figuring out how to utilize it in a safe way within their company. The example was OpenClaw. OpenClaw, they were like security risk, security risk, security risk. And OpenClaw, the tool, is a security risk, but the agentic architecture was not. That was they buried the lead in what they did. And so then when Claude started coming out with that orchestration layer and the notification part, so it was two things: the orchestration layer that Claude came out with, and the notification part, which was dispatch. Now, as these agents are going out and doing everything, and they have their governance, and you have this orchestration layer that's controlling all the agents, and you have the dispatch that's notifying you when an agent does something, and you don't have to wait till it messes up 3 days or 3 weeks down the line. And you're like, man, if you'd have notified me when you first messed up 2 weeks ago, we wouldn't be here. All that type of stuff is just architecture. And if you're able to implement that in a way that people are able to utilize it, then whatever's coming next year that we don't know about and we can't predict right now outside of that real-time AI, if you're able to adapt to that, then when whatever the new AI moment is will not catch you off guard. You'll be proactive and able to embrace it. Right now, companies don't have the capability to embrace it, so they're always playing catch up. And you have employees that are working out of fear of, if I don't embrace these tools, I'm getting fired, or if I do embrace these tools, I'm automating myself out of a job.
Yeah, I love the positive vibe of incentivizing people. It's a reward to use this, not a fear like if you don't. That's like beating over. Yeah, that's very good. That's a very good way of looking at it. I know
Yeah.
we're taking a lot of time here and we're going to go to questions in a second, but just tell us about the movie part because that's way out there.
Yeah.
We're talking about companies and stuff, but you're pushing the limits with AI and going way out there. So
Yeah.
what's up with that?
Wait, tell them about the book.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that.
So the book, let me see if so I wrote a book called Manifest City. It's about a dystopian uh dystopian city. I based it off of Chicago, where AI has infiltrated and is controlling pretty much everything. But it's not. But people are so used to comfort, they rather assimilate than try and not interact with it
Hmm.
or try and combat it. So as it continues to get more and more control, it's kind of like Wally. How the people got so used to being controlled by the environment, they were no longer interested in fighting it. So, saying that to say, one of the key things about the book was, as I was looking at how AI was going into our society now, I was like, oh, this is a timely thing because it's going to talk about how agents played a role in, in as the story plays out, but also the plot twist at the end and how agents keep the machines going. All right. And again, I'm when the machines come and take over, I'm on their side. I'm telling you, it's over for you humans. I'm not messing with y'all. So, however, the key thing, so when I was looking at probably April 30th, Higgsfield came out with an MCP that you could integrate into Codex, ChatGPT's version, as well as Cowork and Claude Code that allowed you to be able to use natural language to say, hey, here's my IP, my book, my content. I want to take chapter one and I want to turn it into a 2-minute AI movie. I want it to be, and so I said, I want a director agent. I want him to be as good as James Cameron, who directed Avatar, but I also want him to have the aspect of pulling people in emotionally like Jordan Peele. So that was that aspect. I said, I want you to be able to, I want the score to be something that's created using Suno. I want a score to be able to pull people in without them even knowing that the music is pulling them in as it goes from scene to scene. Secondly, and again, I'm just typing all this stuff out. I said I want you to create the scenes. We did the scenes for the actual 2-minute movie. I think it was like, say we needed like 20 or 30 images. So I said, all right, create all the images. Let me review them. Let's do them 4 at a time. I want you to use Google Nano Banana Pro 2, and I want you to use GPT images too. And so it did that. And then if for every image I approve, whether it be 1 or 2 or 4, I want you to create 2 videos, one using Kling 3.0 and one using Seed Dance 2.0. So I have a process for each scene that's creating all of that. And I said, I approve everything, send in the continuity agent. I need to make sure everything's continuous. Look at the background. Is the background from scene A to scene B the same? Because you need to be in the same, like stuff you wouldn't think about if you're just filming out somewhere else. Like the city stays the same, the buildings don't move, but they morph in AI. So basically I have all this stuff put together, and so right now we're in the midst of it. I'm probably halfway through it. And yeah, it's creating the movie. So while I'll do that, I probably should say this out loud. I'll queue it up and it'll start running, and then I'll go do work. So I'm doing work while my AI is running throughout the day.
Yeah. And the way you describe agents was interns, right?
Oh yeah, that's what they are.
So your
Interns. Yeah.
interns, that's what they do. You got your interns working. Go ahead, Tiffany. You were gonna say something.
My last question, and then we can shift over
Yes,
to
one in the chat
Q&A.
over there too.
But one thing that you hit on, and I'm having this conversation with a lot of clients that we have over VisioTech, is the problem that I'm seeing is a lot of companies are setting up workflows uh, for agents as if they're humans. And agents aren't, they don't have the same limitations as we do. And so, when we're talking about the input layer, hidden layer, and output, multimodal, you can add as much as you can into it
Mhm.
and just pile on, just like you're adding your book to it. Well, for us humans, as we can only talk so much, you know what I'm saying? And so from there,
Mhm.
even just with the hidden layer and you having inference, and that's, expounding, and, we didn't even get into world AI, which is another
I know,
literally
right?
other webinar that I've been looking at and realizing, oh, they're
Yeah.
from like the neural cortex of the brain, that's a whole conversation. But even the output, like,
Yeah.
it can spit out, things that we're just not able to do because of the computing power. And so can you speak on like why it is such a huge mistake when you're like building to do it in a way like you're talking to I hate to, use, the metaphor that you said against, but like using an intern as opposed to like an agent that is not bound by time or, space and so forth, well, capacity right now, but we're seeing data centers be built everywhere. So can you explain that?
Explain which part? How like using the
So
intern?
yeah, just how we're thinking about, setting up agents based off of like our human, you know, mind and
Oh,
everything like that, and you know, really kind of letting the agents go and kind of flex that
yeah.
muscle.
Yeah, so I think the thing is, people, whoever is setting up the agents, the limitations we normally have are our own experiences, perspectives, and so on. So usually the limitations we put on agents are the limitations we have with ourselves or the knowledge that we know about agents at the time. So the only part that we need to look at from a human perspective in terms of agents, that the main part is where do we put the guardrails where we need human in the loop, and then also where's the governance with what we don't want the agents to do. Other than that, you let them run as much as possible within your budget. For my enterprise stuff, we don't have a budget. That goes to the company, so we run tokens as much as we want. For my own projects, we have like OpenClaw. I was letting it run, and I ended up with a bill of $300 or $400 for one day because I let Claude run wild, and I learned that the hard way. Then the next day, I took it over. I was like, "Well, no, GPT will fix it," and then came that bill. So within 2 days, I spent a lot of money till I learned about the open source models, and that's how I learned about Kimi K 2.6, Minimax 2.7, Quinn 3.6, and DeepSeek, V4. I learned about all of that from trial and error. So the thing about the intern aspect is you let them run, and it's easier to learn how much you want them to do, and sometimes that's trial and error. But don't be limited by the capabilities of your own knowledge. Just let them do what they do best, and let them run as much as they run. But again, keep in mind your budget, because that's the part that got me and like gets a lot of people.
Gotcha.
That's really good. It's kind of agents do a lot. They're big. Don't limit them, by what we think. I think it's great. Tiffany, did you want to do a couple of questions that we have in there?
We can if they're available.
Okay, Missy says, what specific, and we should do these quickly, what specific body of information, articles, videos can we go to in order for us to do a deeper dive into AI for the upcoming years, 27, 20 through 30, in order to prepare now in advance to stay properly positioned in our lives and businesses? So what specific body of information, articles, and videos?
For the upcoming years, the only problem with the upcoming years is the predictions have all been incorrect, just because what was predicted last year, what agents would do,
Hmm.
um, went
Yeah.
superseded what the predictions were. So here's the answer for you, Missy. The podcast I listen to the most is called AI Daily Brief,
Yep.
and that is the best
Who is
podcast
that? Who
I
does
have
that?
heard.
Nathan,
Uh,
gosh,
is that his name?
I can't
Well,
remember off the top, but it's in queue. There's two.
it's
Him,
not Matt, is it? Okay.
no, that was that's Matt Wolf that I believe
Yeah.
you're talking about. No, that's a different one.
Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
I can
I
remember his
don't
name.
know his name. He's amazing though.
If
I don't know
somebody
his
knows, it'd be
name.
great
Let's
to
listen
put
to
it
him.
in the chat.
Yeah. And then generative AI 101. It's just 11 minutes each day, keeping you abreast of everything going on, and they break
Oh,
it.
Tiffany, this is great. I love that. Wow.
And her name is Emily Laird, very accessible, and she has a weekly. She does public speaking, she does AI strategy, but she's also, I think, with the University of Wisconsin, and they do an hour every Wednesday at 12 p.m. CST. It's free, open to everybody, and they talk about everything that's going on. So that's another.
Let me just throw mine in real quick since we're doing it.
Yeah.
This weekend startups, y'all, they are on top of everything. Where I get my newest
Yeah,
stuff, it's this weekend startups. It's unbelievable. I can't tell you who the folks are, but they're on top of everything. They seem to just be ahead on it all. So I just throw that one
that's
in.
Jason
That's him. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Calicanacas.
That's
Yeah,
him.
yeah. I like them. I like him. I've been following him for years. So
I
that's what I
just
would
found,
say is the best one in terms of information. Now, here's the thing, Missy. AI changes daily. So the problem with the people get lost in that is they every 2 or 3 days there's a new announcements, and you you end up chasing the wind. And
yeah.
so you got to figure out what you want to drill down on to learn, and figure out what you're going after. Like for me, I'm always looking for what is the easiest way to build, what are the Claude Code advancements, what are the Codex advancements, and so on, because there will be an update with the new open source model that's released. I don't
Mhm.
really use that nearly as much, but that happens. There will be something new in terms of a new AI platform that's released, like Granola is really taking off now.
Yeah.
That it's not really relevant to me, but it's a cool thing. Every now and then I hear something. Yesterday is when I heard, or 2 days ago is when I heard about the real time AI, because GPT has their I think it's a voice one where it's a real time AI. They just released the second version and it can interact with you even more without thinking. So it's like every time you hear something, you have to figure out what is relevant to you and what is noise. Now, the only way you do that though is what are you working on, and what are you trying to build, or what are you trying to do? If you're not trying to do anything and you're just consuming information, then consume as much as you can until you figure out what it is you're trying to do, and go try and build something or figure out something, or just ask it questions to start expanding your knowledge, and eventually you'll find the path that you're going to get on, that's going to start your journey to where you're creating something that we can't wait to see and talk about.
Yeah. That's a great question, by the way, Missy. You're very specific about it, and you kind of prompted us. You were specific about the
Mhm.
question, and you got specific answers out. That's good. All right, Tiffany. Anything else?
No,
Jason, I'm gonna just say
Oh,
this stuff is great. Now, go ahead. Go ahead, Jason.
I just thought about something. I saw something in there about asking about the book. I'm guessing that's about the book I was talking about.
Yeah.
If that was relevant, let me put a link to that in here. So the movie is still in progress, but here is a link to the book. So
Jason, what's your
That was the
timeline on
question.
the movie? Because everything's changing so fast. I mean, your thoughts on that, I don't know, things are morphing so fast. Could what you have
Yeah.
started off with be kind of archaic by the time it comes out?
So that's the key thing. I'm glad you brought that up because that is what I was talking to Claude about when I
Mhm.
said I felt like I wasn't making the progress that I wanted to make. I deviated from the movie. Like I made a couple movies last year. I
Mhm.
won a couple of awards. I'll show you my Black and AI Fest
Oh, nice.
award that I won.
Okay.
So
Nice.
yeah, and then I stopped making movies
Mhm.
um for about and I haven't made a new one since like I don't know late last year. So let's say about 5 or 6 months. And I felt like I was getting behind. But the problem was I was waiting on, because I had jumped into the open claw and the agentic solutions, I was waiting on an agentic way to make the movie because I didn't want it to be manual. I don't even want to do anything manual anymore. And so once April 30th is when the MCP came out for Higgsfield, and that's when it clicked. Okay, now I can agentically create these movies and start to create these director agents and these different agents that play a part that would be on a movie set to create what I want. And now I'm able to do it. Now, as you're saying and stuff, I plan on having this movie out by the end of the month. Do things change? Yeah, there will be new models that will come out, new video models. Google's about to drop one. One is IO. IO is next week. Google IO is next week. There'll be a
Mhm.
new video model. There'll be a lot of new stuff out of Google next week that's going to
Oh,
change
check
the
out Google Vids.
conversation.
Yeah.
Huh?
I
Check
love
out.
it. You didn't say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have it done in 6 months." You're like at the end of this month. That's how that. That's lovely. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but go
Yeah.
check out Google Vids, VIDS.
Yeah.
It might just be open for workspace
Mm.
um, account holders, but I've been playing around on it. Needs a lot of work with accessibility, but I really think what they did with that platform where it's starting is gonna be a game changer.
And I thought
Oh,
this is no. Go ahead. Go ahead. You got it.
you thought of you just made me think about one. I'm looking at Google Vids now, Tiff. You just made me think about something. You said what is coming up next. So Tiff was talking about world models, and we didn't really get into that, but world models, one of the aspect of world models, because it's an umbrella. So I'm drilling down on one part. Google has a model, I can't think of the name of it, that actually is interactive where you could create like almost create like video games, interactive worlds.
Oh,
Um, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But the key thing about that is, um, so now that I have this IP, and I'm trying to think of I sent the book. I put the book in there. But now you have this IP where you have a book that you turn into a movie. My goal next year, because the technology is not there yet, is to turn into a video game. Well, I already will have the world model that's coming with Google's tool, and then you'll have real-time AI. So as they're interacting with NPCs, these non-playable characters, they'll have real interaction. I don't have to build each character. I mean, I build their personas, but they'll evolve on their own, kind of like a game of the Sims game, but on a whole nother level. So as people are playing my video game, it will evolve on its own. And that was the goal. So I want people to be in a living city similar to what I have in my head, but I wanted to evolve much larger, further than whatever concepts I have.
yeah. And then in short, World AI is I just read a book. It's called The Brief History of Intelligence. I forgot off the top the author, but check it out. It really talks about how the evolution of the human brain has come to be, and World AI is really what it is in short is us humans, when we go into a scenario or a situation, we can already visualize different scenarios of or how things are going to play out, which allows us to make, the proper decisions, making decisions ahead of time. And that sits at the neural cortex of the brain. Well, models don't do that right now. Well, World AI is, and Yamakun, he came from Meta and literally left to go pursue this. If we can get, and move away from frontier models and get World AI, what it'll do is you'll have AI set up scenarios already, be able to test it out, and then from there make a decision. That's what they're looking at for things like in healthcare, where they can already simulate what'll happen with a new medicine, that comes out, what the body will do, and it'll have all of these scenarios work out and play out and make better decisions for those, the humans that are utilizing it. And that'll cut cost and time efficient, and we won't even have to use humans for those case studies. So it's the next big thing. I don't think it's getting
Mm.
nearly as much news time as from what I'm reading. But if you want to see kind of what's next, I would definitely take a gander over and look into World AI.
That's good stuff.
Mm.
Um,
Nice.
there's a guy who's been writing on that for a while. He wrote a book, Super Intelligence and then Deep
Mhm.
Utopia. And so 4 days ago, his name's Nick Bostrom. He and I were talking about the digital mind and what's that it's going to look like. And I said, well, Nick, I mean, a lot of people don't want something that's under our skin and our brain and all of that. I mean, why can't it just be a phone? And he said, well, it is going to be external. So this whole idea of us having this connection with incredible information is not necessarily going to be glasses. It's definitely not going to be a cell phone. You do all this stuff, but um, as you said there, Jason, just the connection of information almost instantly, both for AI to have in talking to us, and it will have, is really significant. And he's writing and talking about that stuff
Mhm.
right now. The
It'll
digital
be an
mind.
ecosystem. I don't think if
Mhm.
people are looking for one thing, it won't be one thing. So your glasses, it'll be like how Apple's played the game. It'll be your glasses will talk to, a device, your watch will
Yeah,
also talk to your phone, will talk to whatever's in your ear,
yeah.
whatever devices you put on, everything will talk to each other. So it'll
Mhm.
be an ecosystem, which is go back to the word we started with, orchestration layer.
Yeah.
And from there, it'll make decisions as far as what you need and what information is relevant to you. And from
Yeah.
there, you'll go.
Incredible. Tiffany, thank you all. Thank you, Rebecca, for putting this on and the sponsors. This is Jason, just unbelievable. I love the way you break everything down. You made all of this understandable to us. So, you
Well,
even
that
gave
was
us
good. I mean, you
examples.
started off saying we educating the community, so I figured
Oh, you
I
did
could
it.
play
You
my
did it.
part.
Yeah, we understand. If you look in the chat, I mean, I know, Hope's over there, Missy and all them. You made this understandable for us.
Glad I could help. And thanks for inviting me, Tiff. You called me for a variety of reasons, so this is one of the good ones.
Yeah, I get on Jason's nerves, but that is real family over there. So he don't mind. And if he did, I would not care. But um really appreciate him for lending his expertise and going from speaking geek to speaking human. But Stefan, thank you so much for lending your time. I took your time slide, but you
I
came
know
in.
it's all good. I love y'all. This is it. I mean, the Black AI think tank we usually have right now. And Jason, I am going to connect with you for the National Black AI Literacy Week. Even one
Yeah.
session in it, man. People would love. Wallonius is always there, doing talks on everything that he's up to. He's the first one that introduced us to vibe coding, a year and a half ago.
Mm.
He shows up and said, "Man, Stefan, are you doing this yet?" And I said, "I don't even know what it is." And he tells us, and our group, went crazy with vibe coding and stuff. So I'll be in touch with you. Thank you, Tiffany and Jason. And
Uh,
Gwen, behind the scenes, Gwen's
Absolutely.
been over there doing questions.
Dr. Smith, thank you. But hey, everybody, if you want to pretty much read or not read, sorry, watch all of the past webinars, we have it at VisioTech University, which is live. And so if you want to go out there, we have a playlist. It's called Still 26. And from the beginning, even sessions that are outside of the webinar, in which we did. Operation Young Guardians is up there where we talked about the implications of what AI looks like when we're protecting our youth out there. But then also we have coming up a celebration of Global Accessibility Awareness Day, May 21st. We are doing a live podcast there with Sing Tyson. She is a certified professional in accessibility core competencies and just a genius, all around genius. And so that'll be launching after this. And that will conclude the Still 26 Base Camp. Again, I want to thank the Watson Institute, Truist Foundation, as well as Black Girls Hack Foundation for supporting us and doing all the heavy lifting for us. But thank you. Tune in next time. And if you need anything, let VisioTech know. Thank y'all.